Hey everyone, this video is very spicy. Abortion. This guy is coming from a conservative angle or pro-life, and I tend to side with pro-choice. This guy is responding to someone who isn't making the most effective arguments in my opinion, but you will see in a second.
Pro-lifers always like to derail the debate into a conversation about whether it's a human life. But even if it does, it doesn't show why it has a right to live.
And the reason why pro-lifers do that is because they definitely have a right to live because they are a human being.
Define a human being. The first guy almost got me, but the "it doesn't show why it has the right to live" part lost me because, as he said, the conversation gets derailed when trying to find out at what stage of a fetus development counts as a human being, and then assigning the right to live on that weak distinction is not really a strong argument. So when the second guy declares, because it's a human being, therefore it has the right to live, it's only strong when the child is actually born, in my opinion. This is a big reason why when it comes to the topic of abortion, my focus isn't on defining when you count a fetus as a human being, but instead on the utility, circumstance, and consequences of it. I'll always be pro-choice for that matter because a hard ban on it leads to situations of unwanted teenage pregnancies, a child from the product of assault, an ectopic pregnancy when a fertilized egg ends up elsewhere than where it should be, and not aborting it will endanger the would-be mother's life. And also, banning abortions will ban medications used in that procedure that could have been used for other reasons. As a filthy liberal myself, I believe in personal freedom, and yeah, I see a banning of abortions as a way to inhibit personal freedom of women. And yeah, trans men too. Anyways, both sides will argue in circles trying to find out at what stage of development a fetus is a human being, and that will go nowhere. It doesn't really help much with this topic.
Every human being has a right to live, even the ones in the womb. Who are you to choose who has the right to live? Survivors have a right to live. Those babies in the womb are survivors.
Wait, what? Surviving what exactly? That's all this topic devolves into, words that mean something to one person but differently to another.
I know what you're going to say. It takes two to make a baby. And I'm not trying to put all of the weight onto the women because yes, it does take a man to make a baby. But ladies, you know the risk. You legit know the risk. If you don't have him put on a condom.
I agree with the first part. Practicing safe sex is the way to go if you can't support a child. But condoms are not 100% effective. It takes two to conceive, so it should also take two to decide whether to abort the fetus or not. You care so much about the child being born, but are you considering the living conditions? If the man and woman are not able to support the child, I don't think it's fair to bring a child into an unplanned living space. This is a common talking point that conservatives only care about a fetus up until they're born, and now you gotta pull yourself by them bootstraps, bucko. Universal healthcare? Nope. Climate change? Who cares? I know not every conservative is like that, but their voting patterns and policies they enact give off that vibe. At least be consistent. If you care so much about the human life in the womb, then let that carry until that life is over. I think one counter to what I said earlier about unplanned living space would be to put that child up for adoption if the parents are not able to raise them. Yeah, that is an option, but you have to think about how long it would take for that child to be adopted into a loving home, or the trauma even being put up for adoption in the first place. I'm not saying adoption centers are bad. It's certainly much better than just abandoning a child on the streets, but maybe a couple may choose not to let that potential life go through that. I think giving couples more options to choose from is the way to go here.
Sad.
Rights are determined by the fact that if we want to live in a peaceful society, we ought to respect the fact that each human being has their own mind and must use it for their own survival.
They do. They have their own mind. They have their own lungs. They have their own everything. Like, they have everything as soon as they have a heartbeat. Their arms, their legs, their sex. They have those as soon as they have a heartbeat.
The first guy has a weird definition of what a right is and seems contradictory. Rights are determined by if we want to live in a peaceful society, we have to respect the fact that each human being has their own mind and must use it for their own survival? Dude, what does that mean? What you just said would bring about chaos, not peace, with everyone using their own mind for their own survival. And the second guy was less weird but still wrong. There's no evidence of a fetus having a mind at any stage of development. There are no horror stories of a fetus developing a sense of self and clawing at the darkness for a way out. Okay, that was a little dark. Current research shows that babies, after a few months of birth, start to develop their mind or become conscious. So there's no such thing as a conscious fetus. They don't have everything while in the womb.
And for that fact to be applicable to you, you must be a biologically individuated being, which means you have to be separate.
But they are their own beings, even if they're in the womb. Does the baby have its own arms, or does the mom have 4 arms? Does the baby have its own legs, or does the mom have 4 legs? Does the baby have its own head, or does the mom have 2 heads?
Okay. While the fetus is primarily dependent on someone else, I still count it as an individual. This might be weird, but I kind of liken it to the bacteria that live in our gut. They are dependent on us, yet can be seen as individuals. It doesn't matter if you deem our relationship with bacteria as mutual and a fetus is not, I still see it as an individual. The point of contention that will always be there is whether or not we count a fetus as a human being. I can't give an answer to that, so yeah, saying the mother has 8 limbs now is silly.
Makes sense.
The unborn biologically will themselves to the mother's organs and live through her own actions, which you don't have a right to.
Even though they do live off the mother's organs, they do have a right to live. Do you not know that so-called fetus inside of a woman that's supposed to be a baby? Do you not know that same fetus we used to be at one point? We used to be a fetus at one point, like before humankind ever came into existence. Did we not have a right to live? I don't know. Maybe I'm the dumb one.
Okay, that was a weird place to take that. The first guy in this part may not have started his point in an efficient way, in my opinion, but I agree with him. I believe it's a couple's choice whether or not to have a child or not, and I don't think the government should interfere with that. As for the second guy, yeah, we were a fetus at one point, and that line of argument can be walked back to ridiculous lengths, which you kind of did. We were a fetus before humankind came into existence? Huh? I don't think we would be humans at that point. I'm not sure if you're talking about evolution or not, so I have nothing to go off there. Once again, my position on abortion has more to do with what and why is being used than letting the different stages of a fetus development being the deciding factor. All in all, I think the conversation surrounding this topic is interesting for many reasons, and I understand how it can be infuriating to many women and trans men. While I may disagree with the second guy, I don't wish him ill will at all. I hope none of the things I said in this video came off like that for him and the first guy. Anyways, I gotta go. Be nice to one another and take care of yourselves.